Life Literacy Right. This is my YouTube channel for all things teaching. I am a middle school language arts teacher. I have been teaching for 9 years. Some of that was 7th grade, some of it 8th grade. I'm also certified with secondary education. So this is a whole channel focused on teaching in the secondary classroom and also balancing life outside of school. I am a mom of 3 beautiful children. They are ages 6, 3 years old, and 6 months old. So here's a picture here of my beautiful family, and we are still learning how to function as a household of 3 children while teaching full-time. So I'm learning, and I want to continue to learn and grow with you guys, and I want to put all the things I learn on camera. So without further delay, let's get into our 10 most practical classroom design tips when you're going to set up your classroom this year. All right, tip number 1, you have to decide what your philosophy of teaching is. You may have had to write this down in college, but it changes as you teach over the years, so I would challenge you to think about your current philosophy. And what I mean by philosophy is when you imagine your ideal classroom, what do you see in your head? Do you see kids moving around the classroom with flexible seating? Do you see kids working in partner pairs? Do you see in your curriculum project-based learning? Do you see more of the traditional classroom with students sitting in rows, getting most of their content from the teacher? So I want you to think about what is your classroom philosophy and how is your room going to look? Because all of the classroom design elements are going to be based on your philosophy, and you have to decide what that is. For me, over the 9 years of teaching, I feel like I've got a hodgepodge of a little bit of everything. I don't give fully to flexible seating just because in middle school it's really hard to achieve that, and you still have to have desks for standards-based testing, which unfortunately we have to do. But I do want to do a mix of both. So this year I've got a couch that's going in my reading corner, which you'll see all that in my classroom setup video. But I'm also going to be having the desks in flexible formations with partner work and group work. So all of that's coming in the classroom setup video. But tip number 1, decide your philosophy, and everything else will kind of be built upon that. And then also remember, it doesn't have to be permanent. The beauty of teaching is every year, if you decide one thing and you change your mind or you don't like it, you could start over at the next big break. You could start over after the weekend. You could start over in the new school year. So you've always got room to change. One tool that I have found pretty helpful in thinking through that classroom philosophy and thinking through the curriculum and what I want to teach and how it's going to look is to plan out as much as I can ahead of time. Some of it has to happen during the year and things have to change. You know, you have to be flexible. But one thing I found this year on Amazon that was super cheap, and I like not spending like $50+ on a planner. There's these teacher planners, and I've already got mine for the new year, and these are made by the company, sorry if I can find it, Pretty Simple Books. They have a address down here, prettysimplebooks@gmail.com. I am not sponsored to promote them in any way. I just think it's really cool. It's just a basic like paper planner, and it has your months already, you know, sketched in there for you. And for me, it helps for me to lay all this out, lay out the calendar for the year, see how much time I'm gonna have, and think through like what are the big projects I want my students to achieve. What do I want this year to look like? So you want to get yourself some good tools like that for planning. Tip number 2. This one is what I think is the most important basis besides your philosophy in classroom design, and that is thinking through classroom flow. That's what I call it. I don't know if that name originated from somewhere else. It's just the name I've learned over time. And this is thinking, how do you want your students to move from when they come in your door to when they're seated? What is that going to look like? If you were a football coach and you were charting out plays on a board for your players, you're doing the same thing but as a teacher. You're thinking through the movement of students. So for example, in my school, we have in our hallways, we have a looping system to get students to the correct classroom. They're traveling in one big loop, and when they get to the classroom they need to go into, they exit out of the loop and go in the room. But at no point do we want to clog the loop or have students stopping and holding up the loop. So one of the important things for me in classroom flow was that I can't have students gathering at my door or creating any kind of traffic jam. So I needed streams of flow into my room that are going to get kids moving in and moving in quickly and not stopping in the door area or at my desk area. So immediately in classroom design, that lets me know I need all of our supplies and materials at the farthest end of the classroom. I need the kids that are going to be getting their handouts, sharpening their pencils, getting their read first books to go there and not stand around my door and socialize. So when I set up my room for the year, I create these clear pathways there's no obstructions in the way to that supply area where they can then get all the things they need. And I'll talk in a minute about grouping. I group supplies together. But I want you to think about your classroom and how it's going to function. You want to think about flow. And that goes into procedures as well. If a student needs to get up to sharpen their pencil, where do they go? If they need to throw something away, do you allow that? And if so, what if they're seated on the other end of the classroom and your garbage can's on the other end? That creates an issue because in middle school, kids want to talk to student A, B, C, D all the way to the garbage can. So I like to give them less opportunities to get out of their seats and do all of that. A simple solution for me was to go to the Target's dollar spot, and last year I bought 3 small garbage cans and I placed them around my room so that when we were cutting out things for interactive notebooks, I knew we'd have a lot of scrap paper. I didn't want kids, I wanted stuff thrown away. I didn't want kids up everywhere. So I had bins at different sections of my room. I also, at times, when I didn't want anyone up, would designate one student and say, hey, you're taking the trash can around the room and they're gonna put the trash on their desk into your bin. So you have to think through your procedures, but classroom flow is a big thing. One of the things I do is I get some kind of journal or something every year, my big idea book, and I got these from Costco, I believe, and I just start sketching out, just excuse my chicken scratch drawings in here. I sketch out how I want the classroom to look, where I want things, and how the flow's gonna go. This way, when I go in to set up my classroom, I'm not wasting hours and hours trying to figure it out. I have a plan. I have a sketchbook. I have a game plan like a coach would going into the game to know what will be the best setup for me. And that way I can also save my time and energy instead of moving giant furniture around and rearranging and wearing myself out. I can do it on paper. So that's tip number 2 for you. I will be posting weekly new content about classroom design, classroom management, and even balancing life outside of work with the demands of teaching. So if you want to know more about that content, please make sure to hit the like and subscribe button below so you don't miss out on upcoming videos and we can learn from each other. I look forward to hearing from you in the comments.